If someone else called in, so we'll see. Okay, so we're live streaming now and we are live on the Zoom meeting. Everyone see the agenda?
Yes.
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 Great. Max, did you want to call the meeting to order? Mr. Chairman?
During the meeting, we ask that you mute your microphone and turn off your video unless you are a member of the Development Authority or its staff. If you wish to speak on an item or would like to comment, please either raise your hand or use the chat feature to ask your host a question. The host will ensure the authority recognizes you. Once you are recognized, the host will unmute you and request you to start your video if you have it available. The host may remove any participant that uses lewd behavior or language or disrupts the meeting. Following up on that, the proof of publication is available of this special type of meeting. Next item we have is the approval of the meeting minutes of, I think, shouldn't that be the March meeting?
Well, we
Or
didn't
February. Oh, that's right.
didn't hold a March meeting. We just had like an executive session for March. So we haven't actually had a meeting where we approved the February minutes.
Okay. Has everybody had an opportunity to read the February 18th minutes?
Yes,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, this is John Eby. I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the February last meeting as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by John,
This is Ped Young. I second.
motion by John, second by Ped. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Ayes have it. Next item is want to disclose that the Development Authority held 2 executive sessions regarding real estate matters via telephone on the following dates: March 16th, 2020, and April 16th, 2020. And
Mr.
no actions were taken.
Mr. Chairman, you skipped over public comment. Did you
I'm
mean to do
sorry.
that?
It was right on the crease of my scrolling up the computer screen. Is there any public comment?
And Mr. Chairman, I just would like to note for the record that Senate Bill 841, which was passed in the House last week and permits video conferencing for local governments, was signed by Governor Wolf today. So the legislation is now known as Act 15. And we not only are legal based on the Office of Open Records opinion, but now we have legislative support as well.
Oh, that's good news.
That's my
Any other public comment?
Doesn't look like we have any other members of the public on this meeting except for possibly one. And it doesn't appear that they have put in a question or raised their hand at this time. So.
Okay. Very good. Then we'll move on to skip item 5, which I already covered. Item 6, action to ratify the approval of the letter of intent with sports clips.
So this has been given to us, I think, want to say early March, and we discussed it in an executive session in March, but we have not ratified the decision. We've not had a public meeting to come out and approve us entering into this agreement. Are there any questions about this?
Mr. Chairman, this is John Eby. I will move to ratify that prior action.
Second.
Motion by John, second by, was that Ed?
Yes.
Second by Ed. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Ayes have it. Okay. The next item is to ratify the approval of a commission agreement with Sports Clips.
You may recall that Sports Clips had a specific commission agreement that they wanted to agree to because they were kind of more of a national tenant, and that we had to agree to that. And also because of that, Campbell Commercial Real Estate provided to us an amended commission schedule. This is where we talked about the blended rates, with each broker getting, I think, 3% or a total of 6%. And if they have a clause in there for a 4%, then Campbell agreed that they would take 2%. So we were paying a total of 6%.
Mr. Chairman, this is John Eby. I'd make a motion to ratify that prior action regarding commission agreement with Sports Clip.
I will second.
Okay, we have a motion by John, second by Sal. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, ayes have it. Heading down to item number 8. Ratify the approval of the commission amendment with Camel Commercial Real Estate.
Again, this is the amendment that Campbell Commercial Real Estate put forth to us. It includes a provision for when we're going to be entering into agreements when they request that their brokers are being paid 4%. They're offering us to take 2%, but normally when it's a co-broker deal, it would be 3% and 3%. I think those were the amendments. I don't know if you want to bring in either Larry or Art Campbell to discuss this any further.
If nobody else thinks it's necessary, I recall the discussions on that, and I would move for a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by John, second by Sal. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Ayes have it. Moving right along to item number 9. It's an action item to ratify the approval and payment of the KD3 proposal.
This was a proposal for KD3 to create a rendering for us. It was a requirement of one of our leases. It can also be used for marketing purposes. I think you have all seen the rendering that they provided to us. And in fact, we've already gotten comments and feedback on it, and they've come up with some amended renderings, and I can share those with you tonight if you would like. Or if you want to take action on what we've done first, and then you can see them.
Yeah, let's take action first.
Okay.
Do I hear a motion?
I will move.
Oh, I couldn't tell. Who was first?
Ted was first and Sal will second.
Okay. Motion by
Question. Mr. Chairman, could I have a question, please?
Sure, you may.
Aaron, does the amended concept, is that included in the $2,500 fee?
Yes, they included revisions in the fee, one round of revisions, I believe.
Yeah, I recall that.
Call the question?
I'd just like to add for the board that the proposed tenants were very happy with the rendering. And we were extremely happy with how fast that they generated both the rendering and willing to get stuff done. I mean, they were really some of the quickest that we've experienced with getting the work done.
Well, it's a very fair fee too.
Yep. Okay. So we had any further questions or comments?
No more here.
We're there. Okay, I believe it was motion by Ped, second by Sal.
Correct?
And all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, ayes have it.
And before we leave that topic, let's see if I can do this. There's one of the renderings. This is with some changes. The changes that were requested, I think, were to get rid of one of the doors. We had initially entry and an exit, and they requested to just have one entrance and exit, and to put the
Okay.
cart corral closer to the building. Those are some of the comments. So there's one of them.
That looks sharp.
I'm struggling to see if I know how to go back to the screen. I don't. Here, hold on one second. All right, talk amongst yourselves while I pull it back up on the screen.
Okay.
Will you be going into executive session during this meeting?
We weren't planning on it. If we need to, I think we can. We had some concerns about security going forward doing that.
Aaron, that's why we met last week, right?
Okay, I just wondered.
Yep.
Art, I'm a little disappointed. Your yacht isn't in the background. Is it out for repairs?
Yeah, I'm on the beach.
Okay.
It's there, Sal. You just can't see it.
I can't see anything.
All right, so there's another view of it that shows the additional tenant spaces. As you recall, could potentially be, one more tenant, 2 or 3 more tenants on this side.
Looks nice.
And there's your other elevation there.
Very nice.
So yeah, they already came back with revisions and everything, so that was good. You have anything else you want to discuss about the proposal or the rendering?
Not me.
No.
No.
Okay. Moving right along then. Another action item. Ratify the approval and payment of the National Fence Company agreement.
This is an agreement with the National Fence Company, which provides the fencing around our Bonton site. I believe that once the construction or demolition is over, we will want to take over that contract so that we can have additional security on the site. So we've actually, I think we had taken you've given me some prior advice to say, go ahead and make that happen. So we have arranged to take over that contract, and we've actually paid for that. It allows it's 6 months. So it's about was a little less than $5,000 for 6 months of the fence there.
Aaron, refresh my memory, we were, I think, discussing this previously, and we were in agreement to authorize it subject to application. And the start date will be whatever date WB completes and we get the fence turned over to us? Or is that not correct?
We already started the contract just because of the shutdown and things that were happening. We didn't know what was going on, and I thought it was better that we have the site be secure, and we made it happen. And I don't think it's going to hold us up all that much. I still think we have some time with 6 months. So it's happened. If we are uncomfortable with that, we can always go back to BWB and say, look, this was still part of your contract until you were done, and we can take it out of what we should have paid them at the end, if you want to do it that way. But I think for making this happen, it was just easier to go ahead and execute this contract because we were shutting down and I didn't want us to not have a fence there.
Understood. Understood. I'd be willing to make the motion to confirm that prior action.
Second. I missed who was who seconded that?
Give it to Ped.
Give it to Ped. Okay, motion by John. Second by Ped. Any further discussion?
Can I just ask what you had decided about BWB?
Yes. Is that on the agenda, or did we not put that on the agenda? I don't
It's
remember.
not on the agenda.
So I had followed up on that topic about having them go back to the site to do site stabilization, and our building code official sent out a letter that said that that makes sense and that is acceptable. And I reached out to Craig today to see if he would be interested in that, and he said he would like to have a copy of the letter to make sure that he was good to proceed, but he would be very interested in that. He said it might take 1 or 2 days for him to gear up, but that was his hope. So
Great.
they're looking to complete that site to
Great.
stabilize it for us.
Very good. Okay. Did we take a vote on that one? Aaron?
We had talked about it at our executive session.
No, I meant right now.
We didn't take any action.
Oh, do you want action on it? Steve, do you think that's necessary?
Hold it. Building code official made a determination. It's not a determination of the development authority.
Thanks, John.
Okay. All right. Very good. Okay, you ready for the next item is the ratify the approval and payment of EK services for flow testing.
Was a service that was required to develop the site plan, and they have actually already been out on the site and completed this. So this is done, and we've issued them a check. This is more just ratifying the action because we didn't have the March meeting. We weren't able to ratify this decision, but this did happen in order to be able to move the site plan forward.
Okay. We have a motion to that effect.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I missed who made the motion.
Head motion, EB second.
Okay. Based on that, any further discussion?
Yeah, I have a question, Max. Do we have did I miss something, or do we have a final invoice amount somewhere?
For EK services?
Yeah, yes.
Yeah, we already paid that.
But how much was it?
I'll find it.
It was, I think it was around $1,500, but I'm not.
Wait, I don't want to screen share that. I'll send you the invoice, Ed, if you want it.
I'm okay. The thing that I have just has unit prices on it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll send you, I have it scanned in. I'll find it on my computer here and send you the
All right.
invoice.
Thank Thanks, Aaron.
Okay. All right. All those in favor say aye.
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 Aye. Any opposition? Ayes have it. Okay, you ready for the next item? Aaron?
Yes.
Okay. Approval of the third amendment to the Declaration of Condominium Capital City Commons Condominium.
This was an item that we discussed at our executive session on last Thursday. This is one of the amendments to the condo. This is to help the site plan move forward and also so that we can bring the hotel onto the property. We will be eventually changing the condo documents again, so you should expect to see this again and it will look different. But we have, as we discussed, we're gonna have a step process, and this kind of interim step here is to help us move through the planning commission tomorrow.
Okay, and the Planning Commission is having their meeting tomorrow?
Planning commission is having their meeting tomorrow at 7 p.m. It will be a virtual meeting. There are 6 plans on the agenda, so it's gonna be a long one. When we canceled all those March meetings, it really made a backlog of items that we have to take care of. So it will be available tomorrow night. In fact, if you want, you can join on. You can find the link on our Township website 2 hours before the meeting. So at 5 p.m. you'll be able to get the link and you can watch and participate if you would like.
Okay,
All right. You.
very good. All right, do we have a motion for the third amendment?
I'll make that motion.
A motion by Sal,
Second.
I'll give it to Ed.
a second to Ed. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, action item, approval of engagement letter of Brown, Schultz, Sheridan, and Fritz to file the IRS 990 form and DCED filings for a total of $1,000.
You had in your packet an engagement letter from Brown, Schultz, and Sheridan and Fritz. They've done our IRS 990 form, I think, for the last 2 years, and last year they did our DCED filing for us. In years past, staff had just done this, but as we started to acquire properties and things became more complicated, we thought it was better to engage an accountant. This is the same accountant that does the township's audit. We are included in the township audit as a component unit, so our stuff is audited that way. But this is specifically to engage them to file our 990 form and our IDA forms.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to that effect?
I'll move.
Ken,
By Sal, second by,
Ed,
Second. Give it to Pat.
second to Ped. Any further discussion? And hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Ayes have it. Moving right along, another action item, approve the Lower Allen Township Sewer Authority Agreement.
So we've been discussing for quite some time that we'd be putting a sewer main on the property. And this is our agreement then to make that happen. This is something that the sewer authority will need from us in order for us to move forward.
And the escrow amount covers the costs of the authority that they're anticipating enumerated in John Brossman's letter, correct?
You want, hold on, let me go and stop share.
Yep.
Come on, you mean the letter that he sent out previously? We did get just an updated version today.
The same comment would hold true that the authority would have some expense incurred. Therefore, there was an escrow amount included with the letter of agreement.
There is an escrow amount, but yes, I think our hope is that a developer would come in and a developer would put in this sewer main for us. But in order to move the project forward, this is something that we need to enter into an agreement with to make this happen.
Right, but the expenses that I was referring to are to process the sewer extension, not to construct it.
Correct.
Yeah, like engineering and legal and
Permits,
permits and, yeah, PennDOT crossing permits and stuff. Yeah,
Yes.
okay. Sounds like a normal course of business with the authority. Do I hear a motion to approve that?
so move.
Second,
Is that a motion by John?
Yes.
Yeah, second by Ed. Any
yes.
further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Next item, number 15. Comcast request for right of entry.
This is the same item that has been on our agenda since January, where Comcast wants to install a line for Bonefish Grill, and they have given us the same drawing. And we've repeatedly requested different drawings from them. They've been provided drawings that they can just mark up. I did have an email from one of the gentlemen today. He said he apologized. He thought that somebody else was doing that part. So I think they're going to get back to us and give us something more robust.
Yeah.
We do have the drawing there for you in your packet if you would like to take action on it or not.
Aaron, I'm maybe mistakenly remembering, I got frustrated with this about the third or fourth time they sent us the wrong drawing, and maybe took action contingent upon them submitting a drawing that is superimposed over site-specific data showing rights of way and possible conflicts, that we were approving it subject to engineering review of the drawing. I thought we did that already. Because this is the same drawing we've been receiving repeatedly, and I believe you sent in a baseline drawing from perhaps the sewer engineer or somebody, maybe the Alta survey, that showed where possible conflicts were. We asked them to superimpose this drawing or this route of their service cable on that drawing. Is that correct?
Yes, I sent them both the Alta survey and the sewer drawing, so they know where they can put their fiber optic line. But I don't remember us taking action on a drawing. I think my recollection was that a motion was made to that effect, and then we decided to just wait until we had something, and then we would move forward.
Yeah, I think we tabled it, maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe we tabled it. Well, this is the same inappropriate, incomplete look we keep getting. So
I'd like to suggest a motion to at least table, but not take any action on it, and get back to Comcast and have them draw it up properly.
and Aaron, you said you've already had that conversation in an email today.
Yes.
I'm fine with tabling it.
I agree.
Okay,
Right,
Very
I'll
good.
let them know that you've taken action to table this until they can provide us with those drawings.
yes.
So you've gotten all the paperwork from them that you're looking for then, Aaron?
No.
No.
No, I provided them with 2 drawings that they can mark up, which should make this fairly easy for them to know where they're putting their line in relation to where we have utilities on the property, but they have not provided that back to me with their markup.
Well, then I thought that's what I understood. So I'd like to take a motion to defer this until they respond with the information that Aaron's looking for.
or in that just sort of tabling it anyway, or
Mr. Chairman, why don't you get a
Yes.
second to table and then you can put it aside?
Second,
okay.
John?
We have a motion. Who made the motion? Ted, and John
Correct.
seconded.
correct.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, ayes have it.
Was
All
that
right.
Dawn that seconded?
Yes, Muriel,
Yes.
John,
Sorry.
Egan.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I didn't even know you were on
Oh, yeah.
at the end of the meeting. Okay. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Item number 16, discussion, rent deferrals and mortgage payment plans.
So I just wanted to discuss, I think you have all been made aware that one of our tenants has asked to defer their April payment. So we have not received that. We did receive it from the other tenant on Friday afternoon. I did get a call from the owner of the old Township building. As you recall, we are kind of the financer on that project. We still, while the building has been sold, they're still paying us the mortgage payments. And that will continue for 5 years until there's a large balloon payment at the end of 5 years. And they had concerns about being able to pay their mortgage, and they wanted to discuss that. I wanted to bring that up since it came up on Friday. I don't know if you want to move that to an executive session or if you want to have that discussion here and now. I think the proposal was they'd like to pay interest only for a period of either 3 or 6 months.
I'm going to volunteer Sal to start first since he's a finance guy.
I'm happy to lead the discussion. I'm not certain of what we should talk about publicly versus what we should talk about in executive session first. So I'm looking to my fellow board members and perhaps even our council to help with that thought process and decision making.
And again, my only comment is you can always refer on the side of transparency, but this is a proper topic for executive session. So if you don't want to do it in public session, you can either wait for an executive session tonight or schedule a separate one. But again, the law is always, your determination. It is a proper subject. Does not mean that you have to do it in executive session.
Understood.
Can I take part over the phone in the executive session?
Absolutely.
I believe that's what Aaron would prefer, but I think the way we did it, Ped, last week was, there was a phone conference that was more secure that you may want to opt to do it at another time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yes. That's Max.
Yeah, I think we would have a more open dialogue around it and in effect be more transparent as we're able to share more with each other.
All right.
And again, I was referring to the public, Sal. I mean, in other words, and I don't even know if there's anybody else tuned into your meeting, and I don't know the security of Zoom. So I think that's why we've done the executive session separately and by telephone.
Yes, that's exactly why.
Okay. All right.
I think we should have the executive session.
Agreed.
Okay.
Yes. Are we going to try to have that this evening?
That's your call.
Is that too hard to set up, that quickly?
We can do it following this meeting. If we need to take action, any kind of public action, we'd have to either reconvene or come back at a different time. I don't know that we need to take public action on this. It's more just an item for our own finances.
And
Well, we
Because I
could-
may not be available for your executive session, and since we were involved in the transaction that you're referring to, I'll only offer you something I'm seeing because we're having a lot of calls between tenants and landlords right now and giving our advice. But the one thing I think you actually have an easier here, a lot of lenders even took the approach, because that's the position you're in here,
Right.
of contacting their borrowers and offering up 3 months interest only
Yeah.
being asked. It's such a common practice that it's almost matter of fact right now that almost everybody's mortgage, when asked or offered, that lenders are saying, yeah, we'll do interest only for 3 months.
okay.
Art, in your experience then, what if the lender is willing to do that? What does the borrower make a repayment plan? Or do they double up payments? Or what happens in the future?
No, they've simply made the interest only, their amortization schedule just gets extended by 3 months.
Okay.
Yeah, so their regular payment starts, they just didn't reduce any principal during that time.
Thank you.
Simple interest
Okay.
payment.
Okay, that's something to consider.
So do we want to go into an executive session this evening, or do you want me to reach out to you and schedule an executive session at a different night, or how would you like to proceed?
Yeah, how about before the planning commission meeting tomorrow night? Is that a doable time?
You would do it like 6 o'clock,
Can
tomorrow?
I'm just
Can I ask
throwing
you-
that out.
Yeah, I was actually going to say, how much longer do you think this meeting will be? If it's not going to be much longer, I would advocate for doing the executive session now rather than tomorrow or another day.
And
I'm not sure our executive session needs to be very long.
Yeah.
I agree.
And Aaron or Steve, do you anticipate that we would take a public action where we need to bring this Zoom meeting to a timeout, do the call, and then resume this meeting?
And again, John, I mean, I don't know, I can't, don't want to speculate because I don't know that you're going to come to an action. But, you know, Art's, you know, if that is something that you want to discuss and you're going to take that action, you're going to need a motion in public session.
Okay, well, I'm hearing I hear what Sal said about wanting to do executive session, and we agreed. Conversely, Art has stated that based on the financial turmoil that everyone's in, it is now commonplace to grant 3 months or whatever of interest only. I mean, if that's a direction we want to go, we could have that discussion right now in public session and take public action. If there's discussion leading to, we don't want to do that, or we don't have consensus and we need the executive session, then why don't we do that?
Art is correct that the financial institutions that I'm experienced with are largely doing a reach out of some kind and talking with people and giving them an opportunity or an option. So that's not out of bounds. Sorry about the extra. I don't know if we could put her in the minutes or not. But anyway, I just think that we need to be consistent with those that we have a mortgage with and those that may be renting from us, so that we're treating all parties somewhat equally.
And this would be the only entity for which we hold finance.
Mortgage.
Correct, but we
Yeah.
are collecting rent from Bonefish and from Texas Roadhouse. And that's all I'm trying to say is that I think we need to have some equality there because everybody's hurting the same way. Rent and interest are difficult for those kinds of institutions right now.
So do you want to have an executive session following this? Or no?
I guess my point was, if we have any kind of consensus based on this public discussion, that we might want to consider a motion to provide for 3 months interest only, then why don't we do it? If there is concern that, and I get Sal's point, I was trying to split the issues and say this is our only debtor, so to speak. And we're not today asked with taking the action to give or modify any rents in the agenda of this meeting. I was just trying to get business done without an extra step if we were comfortable dealing with it publicly. That's all I'm saying.
What,
Do
by
you
the
have,
same,
do you have a
by-
majority there this evening?
Yes, the whole development authority is on the call, is on the meeting.
So let me come back to Art just for just 1 second. Art, when you're seeing rentals, this is what I'm hearing anyway, and I'm not sure that I'm hearing it from all sources, but there's also some deferrals that are going on out there. 90-day deferrals to 6-month deferrals on rent. Are you hearing the same thing or seeing the same thing?
Yeah, I mean, there is, I don't think anybody's asking, well, people have asked for rent forgiveness. I'm not familiar with anybody saying that they'll give rent forgiveness. And I do think you have two entirely different issues here. One is as a lender and the other issue ends up as a landlord. As the landlord, most landlords that are doing anything, or what was just discussed, is we'll defer your rent with a payment schedule, and a payment schedule, depending on how long this deferral might happen. Most people are thinking it won't be more than 2 months. And maybe you paid a portion and that you refund, or not refund, but that you then pay that over an amortized period of 3 or 6 months. Most people are going, I'm not going to do it more than 6 months. I will say the only thing that comes into play, and this is just a general conversation, is where people have gotten payroll protection. Rent is part of that. So therefore, you probably have some people asking for rent deferrals when in fact they're being compensated but they have to pay it, and they're going to have to show that they paid it. I don't know if either one of your tenants got or will qualify because they might have over the 500 employee, or I think it's 500 limit.
Well, it's actually kind of screwy. So, it's probably just as likely that our mortgage holder, would likely qualify under that same plan, and mortgage interest is qualifiable for PPP. And then as far as Bonefish and Texas Roadhouse, we're seeing more and more reports of very large corporations that have filed for the PPP as small businesses for each one of their affiliates. You might have seen today that Shake Shack is actually giving back $10 million. Ruth Chris Steakhouse took $20 million. There's a number of other large corporations that have divided and conquered in order to get the PPP. So I guess, I without giving too much away, I'm perfectly happy to talk about the deferral and change of plans for the mortgage, but I think it's a little complicated. And it's complicated by a number of factors that we might have talked about before with Art relative to our tenants.
I think that your mortgage one is fairly straightforward, and my personal opinion is the rent one. It's too early for you to make a decision. We have a call with one of your, I think one of them paid, and we have a call with the other one this Thursday about a couple things
Mhm.
related to the condo, and we were going to bring up the rent. I can tell you that we've also, Larry was provided a list of all the national tenants and who's paying rent and who isn't. They're still trying to figure out all their issues. So whatever you decide in an executive session about your tenants, I think it's going to be a 30-day ongoing conversation. And, I can't tell you what to do, but I do think they're two entirely different issues. And I think that, it's first I heard on the mortgage thing, but I think that's
It happened Friday and we were having this meeting, so I didn't want to
no, I'm saying that's a fairly straightforward one. And I think the rents one, you could decide anything you want, but that's it. And all of these with tenants, they're becoming negotiations between the landlord and the tenant. And there's other factors that can come into play.
Right.
How much
Right.
longer do you have in the lease? What will you do for me going forward? So I think it would be better to come back to all of you with a proposal after discussions that maybe we and Aaron have had with the tenants. Because whatever you decide, it's you deciding, not something that they're necessarily agreeable to. So I'd rather see is that, and it's sometimes it's kind of nice that if Aaron or we're having the conversation with them, we can say, okay, that sounds good, but we have to go back to the board and get approval.
Okay, so if I understand this correctly, we have two separate issues. One is a mortgage. The mortgagee has asked if they can only pay interest for 3 months. Art is saying that's sort of SOP right now. And I'm hearing that tenant matters are more of a negotiation, and we definitely need to do some follow-up with staff and then some executive session. So at that point, I want to make a motion that we grant the mortgagee a 3-month only arrangement for 1993 Hummel Avenue property. If this results in no second or discussion and it gets tabled or voted down, I'm fine with that, but I think we're able to do something tonight without going to executive session.
I'll second that motion, John.
Okay, we have a motion by John, second by Sal. Any further discussion?
Just to clarify what Art said, then this would push back the balloon payment 3 months. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah. Or it could be amortized over time and keep this, some of their tenants get their rent, reimbursed under PPE, then maybe they won't.
Well, all I'm saying is, my understanding was if we approve this motion, then there would be no principal paid for 3 months. Therefore, that would push back the final payment 3 months. Potentially, unless they
potentially
and said, we want to end it on the prescribed date. Here's the 3 months we owe you plus the balloon payment.
Right. I think there's a lot of moving parts here personally. I'm halfway thinking maybe it might be better to wait till next month, or, see what negotiations come forth between, Art and Aaron and the renters and the mortgage holder, if there's some, changing circumstances between now and then. It might be different.
Well, if that's the track that we're going to take, then it doesn't sound like we have an executive session tonight anyway.
That's correct. Yeah. Maybe we can make a motion to authorize Aaron and Art to gather more information and come back at the next meeting.
Mr. Chairman,
Maybe we can.
I don't
executive
interrupt.
session before the
You
next
have
meeting.
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman. You
Yeah,
have
we
a
have a
motion on the
motion.
deferral of principal, though.
Yes, understood. And any further discussion? All those in favor say aye then?
Oh, wait a minute, are we voting?
To what?
Right?
No, I'm sorry. We were on the motion that was made by
John,
John and second
By John.
by Sal.
Aye.
State the motion again.
I made the
Mary
motion.
Ellen, could you read that back?
I can try. Motion to grant the mortgagee a 3-month deferral of the principal payment with the understanding that the balloon payment will include the 3-month principal that they would not pay. Is that close, John?
Well, I think the balloon payment came up in discussion after the motion. The motion was simple in that
Okay,
simply to allow them to defer principal for 3 months and only pay interest for 3 months.
And that would postpone the settlement, the balloon payment 3 months.
Right.
Right. Now, I was just saying, I didn't make that part of the motion. That was
Oh, I
a
thought it was.
clarifying statement after the motion.
Okay. Do you want to amend your motion
No,
at all?
no, because they could always decide, hey, we have the money, we're gonna do it on as scheduled, or it could be 3 months later. I didn't want to complicate the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion by John, second by Sal. All those in favor say aye.
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 Nope, I'll go along. Aye. Okay,
Well, that was easy.
motion passes. Okay.
And it's my understanding that Aaron and Art will talk to the renters.
yes.
We have a scheduled call on Thursday with one of them.
Good.
Okay, very good. Okay, moving on to the next item, just for discussion, the Lower Island Commons Plan for Planning Commission meeting, which we spoke about before on April 21st, 2020, which is tomorrow night. Aaron invited us to attend virtually. Any further discussion on that, Aaron? Do you know where we are on the agenda?
I think we're the second and third. We have 2 items because the hotel plan will be there, and then also our subdivision plan will be on the agenda as well. And then Tom Ritchie is participating. We'll have BL will be there to represent us. I'll be on. I think John said he'd be on. So
Yeah,
Okay.
we've also responded to, I believe, 2 rounds of comments that were given to us by the township engineer and zoning community development officer. So it should be a fairly clean plan.
That's good.
here's our
Just
letter from the Conservation District.
Oh,
Right.
So is this a preliminary final plan? Tom?
Yeah.
That's one of the waivers we're asking for. That's correct.
Okay, that's what I thought, but
And if we're lucky enough to get a recommendation of approval, we'll move on to the commissioners at their next available meeting.
okay,
Which should be April 27th.
that's not too far away.
You know, in addition, this is for the hotel parcel and for the master subdivision plan. But very quickly, we will have to start to think about a site-specific plan for lot number 3, parcel number 3, where our anchor tenant would be located.
Very good. Okay, anything else, Aaron, that you can think of?
I don't believe so.
Okay. Looks like our next meeting date is hopefully Monday, May 18th at 2020. And maybe virtual or maybe in person, we'll see.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I can let you know, we did get it from the United Way. Some part of their mission is to do reinvestment into the community and through Development Authority. So occasionally we get small donations from them. So we got a check from them for $26.60. So exciting.
For them.
Available
help. Aaron, anything new on PennDOT? Or I guess they haven't been working the last month.
I have not heard anything from PennDOT.
Okay. Anything from Steve?
No, thank you.
No, thank you. Okay. Yeah, looks like you're still at the office too. John, I think it's your turn then.
Well, before I make a motion to adjourn, I'd like to give a virtual round of applause to Aaron for being a superb Zoom host. I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you.
Thanks, Aaron.
We have a second to that?
I'll
Second.
second.
I missed who seconded that.
Give
Was that
it
Sal?
to Ed. Give it to
Give it
Ed.
to Ed.
All
Okay.
right. Thanks, Seth.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Have a great evening. Stay safe.
Everyone,
All right,
Bye,
thank
everyone.
you.
Stay
you all.
safe.
Thank you. And bye.
bye.